Hi, my name is Greg Keene. I want to welcome you to Toasted Soul. Toasted Soul is a podcast hosted by me, Greg Keene. Toasted Soul will be exploring technology news, business news, and just general rants on life. Let's get into it. Hey guys, welcome back to Toasted Soul. Today I have with me Danae Peart. And Danae, could you introduce yourself?
Hi, Greg. So it's very hard to introduce myself to others, but the short answer I am currently working in healthcare after having done about 10 years in media. Used to run CHRY, then was at the helm of rebranding and shifting CHRY over to Vibe 105. Stayed there for the first 2 years and then changed career paths. And so now I'm in healthcare administration. I co-manage a pair of nurse practitioner-led clinics. And then on the side, because it's a gig economy, um, after five, I am a consultant in media and business realm. And so I do consulting with artists, I do consulting with up and coming business ventures, and I do consulting with small businesses that are already established but are stuck, and some PR and other kind of marketing branding stuff on the side. So that's me in as much of a nutshell as I can bring.
Yeah, like of course everyone does the gig economy. Everyone's got like something else that they have to be doing. I don't know if that's a sign of like a bad economy or a good economy where you have your full-time job but you feel the need to have something else on the side. What do you
Yeah,
think?
I don't know if it's a bad economy. The economy is bad, that's
Yeah.
for sure. But I don't know that the gigging is a part of it being a bad economy. I think what happens is most persons, and I don't have, set numbers on this, but most persons aren't working with their passion. Most persons aren't working to their passions. And so the gigging ends up being things that they're actually passionate about and actually interested in, and their 9 to 5 just happens to pay the bills steadily. What will happen is most individuals that are doing gig and job will eventually convert their full time over to what they were gigging in and become real entrepreneurs, in the strictest sense. But there's always that phase where you're like, testing all of your passions and then solidifying them.
Yeah, and I think that's how it, from my experience, that usually is how it goes. People are working that side gig and then trying to turn that side gig into their regular main income source. And I think that's probably the best way to go because you hold on to that 9 to 5 and you have that steady check coming in. So there's
Mhm.
no worries and stress on that side and
Yeah,
as you build your gig.
yeah.
So, how are you finding the venture into healthcare? You've gone from CHRY, which is radio, to a health now. Like it seems like a big shift.
So, I mean, when we changed CHRY over to Vibe, it was kind of the beginning of the end for me in traditional media. Vibe was us, establishing two separate entities because we were always a hybrid organization, but individuals only saw the radio. So what we wanted to do was distinguish radio from the nonprofit element because VX3, which we established as the parent company, is actually a nonprofit charity that is engaged in training in media and honing skills through vocational modular trainings. And then Vibe was the rebranded, sexy FM entity. During that process of the tear down and rebuild and reorg, I realized that, stuff I consult with people on all the time is you have a lot of transferable skills today. Like, behind the scenes, of course, I was also on boards. I was, during that same time, I was the president of Black Creek Community Health Center's board of directors. And so those years also informed my decision on transferring my skills elsewhere. I was acquainted with the healthcare sector through that role, and was getting more and more familiar with the elements that come with the sector. And so I said, okay, let's test this theory. You have skills that are transferable. Let's see you transfer them. And so that's really where that came from. So what do I do in my regular work? Well, at the station at Vibe, I was the CEO. As CEO, I was responsible for hiring and firing. I was responsible for budgeting. I was responsible for resource allocation and finding resources. I was responsible for community liaison. I was responsible for, public relations. What do I do at the clinic? I am in management. I am responsible for community liaisons. I'm also responsible for hiring and firing and human resources. I'm also responsible for monitoring our budget and liaising with our accountants and auditors and so on. So, different sector, same skills, so,
Skills you
and
have are like a base that were easily transferable. That's awesome. Yeah.
yeah. So I highly encourage that people, don't take anything simply. I think everything is a building block to where you want to be. Because my being on the board of Black Creek, I never thought I'd be in healthcare. I just was, bringing my skill sets to a board. But in being on that board, I got intrigued by healthcare and was able to see my way through that transition. But I do believe that if you have managerial skills, you have managerial skills. It doesn't matter the sector.
Those same skills are what makes you good at advising for businesses and small businesses, helping them to move from whether zero to hero or from like stuck to unstuck.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
so that's been an interesting thing too, because one of the things I'm learning with each client is something I'm actually gonna post today on my social media, is the idea that when the business is stuck, most times it's the person that's leading the business that's also stuck. And so what has been happening is, as I seek to coach individuals or coach businesses, I'm realizing that it's actually the individuals that need some coaching and might actually need some counseling and therapy. So that's been an interesting realization through that process. But yeah, like, I've brought all the skill sets to bear when I talk to companies. And one of the things is that when we were doing the work of, transitioning Vibe, from an old model of CHRY, there is a lot engaged in that I don't know that every startup thinks about. Like, most startups start with an idea,
Yeah.
but they don't think through the structure, right? So what will my actual idea look like? How do I pan this out? And so, in writing a business model for what we were about to do with this transition, I'm sitting there going, oh my goodness, there's so many people I know that would have needed this exercise when they were planning to use their idea for a business, right? And so those things definitely, consistently inform what I do when I'm talking to individuals about their idea. you
Mhm.
know
I used to do a training session with a seminar series with the city of Toronto, me and my business partner for technology trainers. And a lot of times people come with these great ideas and they're like, oh, Greg, blah, blah, after a seminar or something, they'd ask me questions. And you can see they're really passionate about their idea and they start laying it out to me, asking me questions. And it was always just like, they just, they have the idea, but they don't really have the structure and what it takes to get to from zero to the next step. So
yeah.
yeah, I totally understand. And I think that's with a lot of entrepreneurs or people that have a hobby or invent something.
Yeah.
They're not thinking about the business size, like the core business size. They're just thinking about their hobby or they're thinking about their idea. And it takes people like you
Hmm.
to come in and lay down that structure and show them the actual path to where they either need to be or want to be.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's a difficult. I think it's a difficult kind of job, like that what you're doing, like that
Mhm.
consulting. But I know, like I've done it, and I see the rewards. It's fun. Definitely has its difficulties and its struggles because it's like you have to take your mind and that other person's mind. You have to try to help them, and it's like you're matching. You have to match two personalities and then go down a path.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, like I'm in the middle of a consulting now, and we've kind of just taken a break because the level of stuck is not on me to fix, right? So that individual needs to, put into practice the items that I've laid out for them in writing. Because I try to work with where the client is, right? So some clients I can have one consult and we, talk and I see them taking notes and I'm like, okay, so they're engaged, they're hearing me. And then there are other clients where like I have multiple follow-up documents that I'm literally regurgitating our conversation and regurgitating the plan,
Yeah.
but they're just not that type of learner or they're just not that type of doer. So it definitely is challenging. And then, because it's my gig, I have to be very mindful of like how much brain power I'm putting into this and how much time I'm actually spending doing this. And is the reward there? And like, as a pseudo entrepreneur, that's been a challenge for me, is
Mhm.
just matching the effort with the outcomes for myself, as a burgeoning business. So that's really been the struggle, especially during this COVID time, is me even assessing what is it that I want to do and what is it that is actually profitable to do. It's a very interesting time, you know.
Yeah, I hear you on that point where like I consult with some people now and it's I see the like you I see those people that are like you're talking to them and like I'm like, are you taking notes? Like I'm telling you what to do and the next steps. And they're just listening, but they're not taking notes and they're not recording anything. Or
Yeah.
I like what I like to do is share a lot of Google Docs. Like I'll write up an entire doc of like next steps. This is phase one. This is what we're doing in phase one. This is how we're executing on Instagram. And then they don't know that I can see the history. So I'm like, have you checked out the document? Oh yeah, yeah. And I know you haven't. Like, so it's
There's
like,
no
what are you
there's
doing?
no edit, no click.
Right, right. So it's like
Yeah.
I know your struggles that you go through, but I like it though. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
like building, so I think it's part of my personality. And so in helping these people, it feels creative. It feels like part of my creativity that's
Right.
being used. So I enjoy it, and I try to stick with people for as long as I can. But after a while, when people are when the ones that are not writing
Doing.
down and taking notes and really executing, you have to realize this is a waste of your time, and
Hmm.
you have other people that you can that are taking notes and that are really
Receptive and
right,
yeah.
right. And I don't think it's like I think it's something new, right? So those people
Hmm.
that are not taking notes and not being receptive, I think it's just that it's a skill that they have to learn and understand that in addition to your hobby or the business idea that you have,
Hmm.
this is part of it. If you really want
Yeah.
to build a business, this is part of it. So you have to learn and you have to start to do these kind of things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's a work process that they haven't really signed up for, right?
Mhm.
So like, they know I can do this thing well and I'm gonna do it as a business, but they don't think about the actual labor that is coming from that. That you have to sit down and flesh out the business plan. You have to sit down and flesh out the marketing plan, which is like a major pet peeve for me is most businesses don't think about marketing. And it is, this whole if we build it, they'll come. And I just want to cry every time I see that
Yeah.
word because I know like just because you built it doesn't mean they'll come. And you have to have a plan for how do I engage audiences, how do I reach my target market. Like I know I'm in trouble when I talk to a business and they don't know what their target audience is, right? Like, they never sat down and fleshed out that piece. Somebody probably said to them, "That's a great idea. I'd do it.
Mhm.
I'd buy it." And they're like, "Yeah, let's go." But
Yeah.
they don't actually know and this is some of the tips that I will be freely giving to people. You have to know what is the question you're answering, or what is the need that you are filling.
What is the problem that you're
What is
solving?
the problem you are solving, right?
Mhm.
So if you don't answer that question in any part of your process, I already know in 2 years you're going to be stuck. I already know, you're going to hit a wall as a business because you never took the time to know who you're reaching, right? Because the reality is all ideas are doable, but not all ideas are the $1 million idea, and not all ideas have a ton of audience members. So did you scale accordingly? Did you think this idea only has 1,000 potential buyers, or did you just assume there were 1 million? So it's very interesting to go through this process with people, but and I'm learning as well, like how to tailor my messaging and so on.
Yeah, that is definitely the one thing for, I think, for all business people or all people getting into business, is that knowing your target audience is probably the paramount of that business. Because if you don't know them, then you might have a great product, but if you don't know who your target audience is and you start selling like cigarettes to try to sell them to babies, like no baby wants that, right?
Exactly.
So knowing your audience is very important. It's a difficult task, but it can be done, especially today. It can be done with all the data that you can find online.
Oh yeah.
Proper way to do it is the A/B testing, using that principle to narrow in on whether that product or that service is wanted and by whom it's wanted. I mean, like it's a question that I always ask people, like, who are the people that you think want this? Why do they want this? And in research, you can usually suss out, like pull out kind of like that. Even this morning I was looking at my podcast analytics, and it's interesting, the people that are looking at it and that are listening. Yeah, it's like it's something that you always have to keep going to too, because it can change depending on what service or product you are offering. That target audience can kind of shift or wave and dip sometimes.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a question that everybody entrepreneur should look into very first thing. Marketing today, it's mainly when people say marketing, the first thing you think is the internet. No one does any kind of marketing anymore, and I think that's just the way of the future. And there's tons of analytics, tons of ways to pull data up, tons of way to get the right metrics to narrow in on who you should be marketing to, and where your target audience, like, are they on Instagram, are they on Reddit, are they on Facebook, where are they, so
Where
you
Yeah.
can narrow your marketing to that point.
Yeah, for sure.
But you're also doing like something with media, right?
Yeah, so with media, I do PR stuff. I help people refine their brand. I do almost every little aspect of it, just because sometimes depending on who I'm working with, budget wise, they can't do everything. And so, like, I'll be the filler
Yeah.
until they get to stage 2 where they need to actually hire somebody who does it. So
So on that point, you know what I do when people come and I give them a price and they
Mhm,
can't handle it, I phase out the projects. That's what I do.
mhm, mhm,
So
mhm.
it's like, yeah, this is the price, and you don't really want to cut your price. I would tell people you don't ever really cut your price. So if I say this is going to be $5,000, and they're like, "Whoa, that's a lot," I'm like,
Mhm.
"Okay, well, why don't we phase it out over X amount of time,
Right,
and where it's more affordable to you, right?"
right, right.
Just a tip I was just sharing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thanks for sure. And that's been the approach that I see, like, a lot of other persons that I work with, because like we cross refer people to people, and that's kind of the approach that everybody takes, is to phase it out. For me, like, I always try to just get in and get out. Like, I'm
Mhm.
not trying. I don't want to live with you through all your phases.
Yeah.
Want to do phase 1, get you going. I want to get out, because I find that, like, my personality is one of, like, I'm a workaholic. I'm also very caring, even though I don't come across as such. And so I'll be like, oh, let me help, and you know what I mean. and it just drags on,
Yeah.
especially for individuals that don't have the budget that is required. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just like, no, no, let me try to cut this cord quickly, you know?
Yeah. I'm like that with because people are like, I should become a personal trainer. My thing is I want to be able to get in, get you fit, and then get out. But for personal trainers, you have to stay with them for
You have to
so
stay with them.
long.
You have to stay with them. You have to stay with
Yeah.
them. Yeah, I've used personal trainers before, and they've been actually effective. I tell people, like, people ask me all the time, like, what has been most effective for me when I've been on my weight loss journeys, and it's always been with a personal trainer.
Really?
Because yeah, because I for my fitness, I'm not individually motivated. I
Mm-hmm.
have to have somebody going, go, 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 push, push, push.
Mm-hmm.
Or else I'll just be like, okay, I'm done. It's not working. So, you know what I mean? Like, I need that. And I find that every time that I've hired a personal trainer, it's worked. But you have to be very invested as a personal trainer. It's so much, you know.
Yeah. It's so much hand holding.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, like I see personal trainers and I'm like, it just seems like they're just talking, like they're not really helping the person. Like, because from my thought of how to train someone is
Mhm.
different than theirs. It seems
Yeah,
like it seems like they're just buddies, and I'm like,
yeah, yeah.
no, we come to work. Like
It's some work.
that's my mentality, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They're like, oh, how are the kids? Like, who cares? Let's do some more push-ups.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So maybe I like, and and that is another part of why I couldn't be a personal trainer, because it's
Mhm.
like I know when I train, I go 110%. All right,
Right.
get that heart rate up and burn that fat, or push 100 pounds to get those muscles. I don't see a limit, so like I don't see my own limit, so you shouldn't see a limit either in yourself, and let's just
Yeah,
go. But
yeah.
yeah,
But the person who needs a trainer needs more.
yeah, I guess, yeah. So yeah, it's yeah, the business, the small business consulting is a lot of fun. Recently, what I've been doing mainly though is focusing on not just small business consulting, but like IT consulting and how to make your business run more efficiently with
Mm,
technology.
mm.
Because it is like you're like that consulting is it's kind of hard because it's like well, it's not something that's really that passionate for me. The IT part is definitely, so
Yeah,
combining them both is a better path for me.
yeah.
Um, yeah. So are you looking? So your current job as a health working in the health system, and the current situation of COVID, is there any crossover, anything that you are experiencing because of that?
So, I mean, I've been very untraditional during this COVID period in that I'm at work every day. I think it's because I'm management and I'm administration. So I've been in physically in the clinic space every day. However, our clinic has, you know, modified schedules. So clinicians are not in every day anymore. You know, we've moved quickly to a virtual care model. So kind of a hybrid. You come in, you know, once or twice per week. You can see physically a person, and then the other days of the week are virtual. So what I'm witnessing is the sector having to change quickly,
Hmm.
and I think that's happened to most sectors during this time, is, you know, this push towards a virtual model for everything.
Yeah.
You know, in many cases industries and sectors have taken a full on 5-year leap in their business model, you know, like software wise, you know, having more hardware, like, you know, laptops and so on. Like, even for us, we only had a few laptops because we have a home visiting feature of our clinic, so those laptops were used when we were mobile. But now everybody's virtual. So, you know, we've had to acquire more hardware. And then the software, you know, I've always been that person who reads up on sectors and reads ahead, because I want to know what's coming. So even when we were choosing our electronic record, medical records here, I was going with a company that I felt like could expand to where the industry was going, right? So that's definitely been interesting. And like, my personal life has been impacted by COVID. You know, the assisting my family because my aunt and uncle are seniors. They're, 80 and 81 and 84. So I've been doing their shopping for them and, little errands here and there. So that's impacted my time. At the start of COVID, when they announced the shutdown for seniors, my friend and I, who are a part of a grassroots initiative, we started doing food. So we do a feeding program every weekend. So my time went there. So really, COVID has definitely taken a toll on not just my time, but even my mental state. Like I have to like force myself to not fall into any of the traps that come with isolation or being tired or being overworked and so on. It's been that kind of a period. Like these 7 months have been very interesting. Like my time is just gone, and it's gone in different directions. It's gone in, I'm still doing consulting, I'm still working 9 to 5, and now I'm supporting family members and so on through this process. It's been interesting.
So how do you deal with the mental aspects of all this stuff of like just being drawn in so many different directions? Like how do you meditate? Do you exercise? Like, well, how do you deal with all that stuff that's just going on in your life?
Yeah, so on good days, because not every day I'm consistent. So on good days, I do this process where I don't go into the shower silently. Like I'm always listening to something. So I'm always listening to either an audiobook or some, motivational speakers that I follow and those kind of things, just to make sure that I'm not rushing because like my showers can take 5 minutes. So I'm, I'm just like, I'm forcing myself to just slow down and listen to something, and usually something uplifting, usually something about, abundance living or, no limit living and that kind of stuff. Or I catch up on books. And so that kind of sets the tone for the day for me. If I don't do it, I realize that at about like, 10:30 in the morning, I have to stop and remind myself that this isn't a bad day. This is about to just be a bad moment, But if I center myself in the morning, I don't have that problem, right? So we should do things that are good for us, but we don't always. So there are days when I'm not on point, and those days, bad moments feel like bad days, and you just go down and down and down, and then by evening I'm just on the couch like trying to regroup. So really, like if there's anything I know for sure that works, is having a really strong morning routine, just so that you can kind of just ground your day in the kind of day you want to have, because we literally choose the days we want to have. I know, like, and it's taken me a while to come to that realization as a person, but yeah, we definitely choose the day we're having. Like, you get a bad email, it's a bad email.
Yeah.
It's just next.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
if you're not grounded, that email can derail you, right? And you're just like spending the day arguing about the content of the email and your response to the email, and it just keeps going downhill. When if you're grounded, you're just like, oh, it's a bad email.
On to the next one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I get up, I try to get up early as I can, like usually around 4:30. I'll go for a run, workout, and then meditate, start my day. But yeah, like if you, it's you putting yourself in a certain mindset, because we're all gonna have bad things that happen to us. We're gonna wake up, stub our toe. We're gonna get that bad email. You have to just say, it's a bad email. My toe's fine, and just keep it going, keep it moving, right?
Yeah.
Try to stay positive, because there's so many things in the world that will try to bring you down. You
Yeah.
have to consciously work to stay up.
I'm a busy brainer. Like I don't settle my brain easily.
Yeah.
So I've been very curious about stuff that monks write about and monks, speak about. And
Mhm.
so there's a favorite video of mine on YouTube. It talks about like, quieting your monkey brain.
Yeah,
And
I like that one.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's like every now and again I just watch it again to just remind myself, that give the busy bee monkey,
Mhm.
something else to do. And so for most people, that's meditation and so on. For me, like I don't have a strict meditative practice anymore. I used to, but since I've, been ascribing to spirituality over religion, I'm, kind of debugging some of the practices that I've had. So yeah, but having like just a strong morning routine definitely, helps to guide your day.
So, with spirituality over religion, you wouldn't count meditation into spirituality. Is that what
Um,
you're saying?
so for me, it can be interpreted as spirituality
Mhm.
but for me, when I hear meditation, I'm like, what are you meditating on or to whom? And so like it becomes a quagmire for me, now that I'm trying to just separate everything from religion. I don't want to say I'm meditating per se, but I want to say I'm grounding. I want to say I'm, making resolutions and resolving and affirming actions that I want to take in my day, as opposed to like that word meditation just still has connotations for me that
Mm.
are still very aligned with a religion of any
Really?
sort. Yeah, yeah, it's just my thinking. Like I'm
Yeah.
just, oh, when people meditate, what are they meditating to? Is it Buddha? Is it God? Is it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, while the reality is most people probably aren't seeing any deity in their meditative process, but I just
Mm.
feel like how I've seen meditation done and how I've heard people say they meditate, I feel like it's still wrapped up in some kind of, religious connection.
I don't think so. Like,
Mm.
well, for me, like when I meditate, I'm not religious because I just all this everything around religion just bothers me. There's so many
Mm-hmm.
things around religion that just bothers me, and
Mm-hmm.
so I believe that we are originally spiritual because the entire universe is a spiritual experience.
Mm-hmm.
So in meditation, what I'm using meditation for is to reconnect my
With the
spirit
universe.
to the universe, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I think of religion, I think of organized religion, man-made religion. So I'm not into that. I'm into the spirituality of connecting and believing that there's energy in everything, believing that that plant has energy, believing that there's this encompassing energy in the universe that I am a part of and I can connect to, and I can feel emotions through connecting into this energy field.
Yeah.
And meditation calms the monkey mind
Mm-hmm.
and releases the spirit to get out there and connect fully with that energy. I don't see it as religion in how I define religion. I
Yeah.
mean, I do seek God within my meditation because I believe God is out there. I believe in God. So I believe God is that energy that I'm trying to reconnect and tap into while I'm in the meditative state.
Yeah, and so that's why I have the religion connotation,
Mhm.
because most persons say something during meditation or think something during meditation,
Like a mantra, like I
a
say,
mantra.
what do I say? I say, thank you, God, just
Yeah,
constantly. Yeah.
right. So you see what I mean. So if like I was raised in the church, like I was, from 3 years old, I was going to church.
Yeah.
So for me, if I'm gonna sit down and meditate, my first words are likely going to be something I learned in church or something related to that. Or if
Mhm.
I'm ascribing to a new religion, like how I'm interested in what the monks do, I might, be ascribing to something Buddha said. You know what I mean? So I'm
Mhm.
I'm like really working on filtering out those kinds of words and sayings. And so for me, that's why I don't use the word meditation, because I'm just trying to, if I'm centering with universe and energy, I don't want to say anything else
Yeah.
than universe and good energy, right? Like, so for me, it's just a process that I'm going through. I don't know that there's a wrong or right, so it's not
There isn't.
necessarily that I'm not saying there is. I'm just
Right.
saying, just for me, as I'm debugging all of the layers of this onion
Yeah.
and unwrapping and unraveling it, I just find that that word still connotates something for me that I'm trying to separate from.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I grew up in the Catholic Church, right? Going to,
Mhm.
since I was like, I don't remember how old, maybe around 6, but it felt like like it felt like brainwashing and programming the whole time. And the minute I had an opportunity to choose not to go to church anymore, I chose that, right? It just didn't sink in. The program wasn't taking with me. I had too many questions. I'm like, but if he can walk on water, but he said, but it was just a lot of questions that no one was answering for me. And
Yeah.
the way my mind works, it needs an answer that's logical. So yeah, slipping away from that, I know that still I have that programming in me that not that I believe in Jesus, those people, but the idea of God I believe in. So yeah, so it's I can understand like how it's hard to get away from that kind of ingrained programming. Like they've put that into your brain and it's hard to like break away from that. But in trying, that's the best way. And it's not that it's wrong. Like I don't believe anyone that does anything
Yeah.
that is spiritual in
Hmm.
nature is wrong. I believe religion is wrong, I guess.
Hmm. Yeah.
I think it's right. I'll say I don't think it's right for everyone because
Right.
yeah, I don't believe religion is right for everyone. And it's unfortunate that people just blindly follow. They don't think
Right.
like, what is this spirituality thing all about? Let me take a look, right?
Right.
They don't try out different things. They just say this is where I should be, and I find that problematic. I don't really want to get into it
Yeah.
because religion is like one of those things that are
It's a hot button.
it's a very hot button
Yeah.
and it's hard to like I have opinions on the kind of religion that black people are following and believe
Right.
that you're from and why I believe otherwise, right?
Right.
Hey guys, at this section I had to delete part of the audio. The internet connection was in and out, so the audio didn't come in very clearly. Zoom and Google Meetings, yeah. How are you finding that for communicating?
So I'm not a big fan of it. I'm,
Yeah,
I'm accepting it because this is a new world, right? It's a new
right.
reality. We're now in a virtual era. I tell people all the time that whenever you see a crisis, it's an era about to change and shift. So we're there. This is what it is. So I'm not a big fan, but I've been doing interesting things. So like I go to parties now on Zoom. you know,
I've gone to a couple.
yeah. I'm not a big fan of like. So I lost my uncle in May.
Mm,
He died from cancer. And I really hated being on Zoom for his funeral. I really, really hated. Like, I think I'm actually still mad about that because I feel like it takes away from our expressions of grief
and
and we
connection,
and connection. And we're already a people who don't grieve well enough.
right?
So to add that Zoom feature, like I'm literally still traumatized about it. Like I was delivering his eulogy on Zoom. That is the most painful thing, right? So that element I don't like. I don't like, if it's weddings or funerals or any birth, anythings. I feel like those rituals and those connection pieces, really, we should not lose them to this virtual
To
era.
technology. Yeah. And
Yeah,
that just goes to show just how connected we are as human beings. Like when I'm in your space, like when I'm right there and I can reach out and touch Danae is completely different than talking on this thing. There's
yeah,
no there's no human connection. Like we are speaking, we are seeing each other, but
yeah,
to be in the space is to share the energy within that space and you can
exactly.
feel it and it's different.
Yeah,
And even in death, you want to be by
yeah,
that body because that energy is still in
yeah,
that body.
yeah, yeah,
Totally understand what you're saying, and
yeah,
I wouldn't be able to. I wouldn't even. I mean, like, can't understand it in. I haven't experienced it, but I've experienced like birthday parties and stuff like that. So I know what a birthday party in real life feels like, and I know what it feels like on Zoom. And yeah, there's just that missing
it's missing.
connection. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
the
It's
humanity is not there. That's what it comes
yeah,
down to.
yeah, and like you and I have had these back and forths on things like robotics and all of that stuff, and my feeling on AI. It's just like I feel like as a society we have to be very careful not to lose the human touch, and we're in a phase now where that is a risk. That is a very strong
Yeah.
risk. I believe in wearing the masks, for instance, for COVID, but I don't like what the mask represents. I mean, I don't want us to get into wearing masks forever. You know what I mean? Like we need to fix
Yeah.
this because I don't want to not see a smile anymore. You know what I mean? I don't want to not hear you without filter. I don't want to not see your full facial expression because we can read eyes, but the lips do stuff. The lips furl and the lips curl and the lips,
Right.
expand and so on. When somebody is lying, it quivers. There's so many little elements to our
Right.
communication that I'm very much, wary of losing as we go through this new era, right?
Yeah. And it's been like thousands since the dawn of man, we've been reading our faces. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's what we pick up on, right? We
Mm-hmm.
pick up on those little minute movements of like the quiver of the lip, the twitch of a nose, the way your eye, everything. So to remove like literally half of your face is to remove half of the conversation. They say that we speak, what is it, 80% with our body expression.
Yeah,
So to remove half of your face is half of the conversation is basically gone.
yeah.
So I don't think it's gonna be anytime soon that we're gonna remove these masks though. I
No, no,
think it's gonna be a little while.
no. I haven't listened to any announcements today as yet because we're on this. But I'm anticipating that the province will say, they want to go back to maybe phase two. I don't anticipate a full shutdown anymore. I don't think anybody's economy can handle it.
Yeah,
And I don't think that the shutdowns were done well.
definitely not. This whole thing has been a big bumble. Like it's ridiculous.
It's so embarrassing, actually. When I
Exactly.
really look at it, like we're North American, we love to act like we're better than people, and we're smarter than people, and especially Canada and America says we're the innovation.
We're the
We're the
first
knowledge,
world.
economy, and all this BS, and we can't figure out how to actually mitigate a virus? Are
Mhm.
we serious right now? Like there are countries all over the world that have implemented multiple measures that are either preventative or even if they're reactive, but they're, towards a goal of reducing the impact of this virus. We are telling people 7 months later to wash your hands and wear a mask. That's the extent of our work.
Yeah, but it's also, I think what it comes down to is the people too, right? Like maybe our systems are kind of in place, but it's that the discipline of the people or the mindset of the people that like the North Americans. Let's look at the Americans for sure. Is that they don't listen. It's like no, freedom. This is not freedom to them because they all have a different idea what freedom is. So like if you put them up against the Japanese have only had 1,000 deaths, right? Because people listen. It's like, hey, we're in some shit right now. Let's all work together to mitigate it. Just wear a mask, and they all wear a mask. In America, I'm not wearing a mask because it impedes my
You told
freedom.
me so, and I don't want you to tell me stuff.
Right, and I think that has been the factor that's affected North America the most because
Yeah.
us Canadians, yeah, we're Canadians, so we're different than the Americans, but we're influenced by their media so much, and we watch so much of their crap that it starts to influence a certain populace in the Canadian population, and so we all are affected by it. Because if the guy next door doesn't want to wear a mask and he's asymptomatic and I go outside next to his fence and I catch it from him, it's unfortunate that we live in a modern society and what we call a first world society, quote, and we can't handle this. And
Yeah,
someone
it blows my mind, but I think so. You're right. The West is very indisciplined, but I also think too, especially in North America, it's this idea of individualism. Like we have romanticized individualism to a level that is actually embarrassing, and
exactly.
so we don't actually believe anymore in collective anything. We don't believe in collective economies, collective thinking. We actually think we decide things for ourselves. Like there are people who go and shop and buy an orange top and think they decided that because because of individualism, right?
Yeah,
And so because we've romanticized this, we're like, I'm not listening to your rules. I'm an individual. I get to make decisions on my own. Yet we all
exactly.
still pay taxes except Donald Trump. So It's to our detriment for sure.
Mhm.
But I don't want to also romanticize other cultures, because there's a whole bunch of disciplined cultures that have also a lot of debt, and that's because the virus itself will prey upon certain environments. So individuals with lower income, lower education, proximity, kind of packed in on each other, not very good sanitation and all of those things, they will have high numbers and occurrences of the virus. So there are many factors to it. I just am amused and gobsmacked that the North Americans can't pull it together when other countries that they have looked down on
The
are
shithole
the
countries.
shithole
Yeah.
countries, are doing it. Like, did you see what Rwanda did? Like, Rwanda had robots doing the issuing the test.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, so no nurse has to be put at risk for getting the virus. The robots issued the COVID test. I was like, hello, Rwanda, who, like, a couple decades ago we were all mourning how could they, like, decimate, whole, groups, have pulled it together and are now being touted as the Singapore of Africa. Like, how does that happen in a shithole country exactly, right?
Mhm.
So I'm
Leadership.
exactly.
Hmm.
Exactly. Leadership, and none of this romanticizing of individualism, like actually community and actually collective, right? So it's very interesting. And I, like, every chance I get, I say shame on North America. I just want to say it. Just shame on North America for bumbling this.
Yeah. And it's still being bumbled, and it's going to get worse, I think.
Yeah. We're
I
not
don't think
out of this till March.
I think it's going to be a lot longer than that. I'm
No,
looking
I
at
mean
years.
the actual virus,
Oh, okay.
the power of the virus
Hmm.
will shift by about March again. So we would have lived a year with it.
Yeah.
And then, all the little filter stuff, like the vaccine will come on stream and all these other things will come on
Yeah.
stream. But the actual, like, dealing with the throes of a virus, I think next year March we'll
Hmm.
start seeing that, like, clear decline.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, whether or not we behave ourselves, whether or not we're disciplined, because it's going to be a virus that will just always be with us. Like,
Yeah.
people don't talk about SARS anymore, but it's from the SARS family. People don't talk about, a lot of other viruses that are still, lingering around in the back.
Yeah.
So it will just do its thing, as a virus. But I
Yeah.
encourage people to read more about it and read more about, like, what other countries are doing in response, because we just look stupid right now.
Yeah.
You know?
Unfortunately. I think this summer 2021 is going to be kind of off the chain kind of thing. It's kind of like this summer, no one really got to party. And I think if we can get the virus in a more controlled state next summer, I think it's going to be a little crazy. But then I feel like, again, next summer, at the end of the summer, we're going to see a rise
Yeah,
again.
it's
I mean,
possible.
like, yeah, it's well,
It's
none of us
possible.
knows. None of us knows, and like, it's just like a wait and see kind of thing. Even though I'm like a homebody, I kind of want it done, because it's like when I go out shopping, it just feels it's like, oh, I gotta wear my mask. A lot of times I'm like, I go outside and I have to come back in because I forgot my mask. So
Yeah,
that's starting to be an annoying thing for
yeah.
my personality.
And it's happening to everybody, because, like, my building mandated mask wearing, and I was just like, why? Because now I have to, like, I turn back so many times.
Yeah, same here.
You know
Yeah,
what I
it's not
mean?
something that you're thinking about. You know what I mean? It's like I got
Yeah,
my keys, I got my phone, I got my wallet. Let's go. And
yeah.
it's like, oh, my mask.
The mask. And
Yeah.
then like, worse if I park far at, like, when I go to shop for groceries,
Mhm.
and I, like, reach near the grocery store door and I don't have the mask, and I'm like, no.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Sometimes what I do is like I just pull up I'll go for a run, and when I get back inside the building, I just pull
Mhm.
up my t-shirt because I'm not going
Yeah,
to wear a mask to run. I'm not going to carry extra stuff with me. I just pull up the
right.
t-shirt.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's a lot of maneuvering.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, like, I will do whatever it takes. I'll do my part in trying to, you know, get past this, get us all past this.
Mhm.
And I just wish everyone would just come on board and say, okay, yeah, let's wear a mask and let's not be stupid anymore. And I think if we could do that, like all the experts say that we would get through this a lot quicker. But, we still have those anti-maskers, so
Anti-vaxxers, anti-maskers, anti-virus.
anti-everything.
There's anti-everything. They don't believe
Yeah.
what happens.
Yeah. It's like, it doesn't matter if, I don't know, if someone said that you need to drink water, else you will die, there'll be an anti-water drinker. Don't drink water. The man is trying to keep you down.
Man's trying to hold you back.
Drink Coke instead.
Yeah. It's still water.
Yeah. But yeah. So I know we both have to go. I have another meeting at 1:00, but I wanted to get these questions out before we split.
Okay.
And so I always ask all my guests these questions. So one of the questions is, what is your everyday technology carry? So if I saw you on the street, what kind of tech would you have on you?
Oh, I always have my cell phone. That's about it. Like,
What kind of cell phone?
I have the iPhone 11 now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is that all you carry?
pretty much.
Yeah. Have you heard about that, the Elon Musk Neurolink, where he's going to put a computer in your brain?
Yeah.
Are you down for that?
Nope.
I think that's, I'm on both sides of the fence with that,
Yeah.
because I understand why he wants it done,
Yeah.
but I also understand like the negatives to that, right?
Yeah.
It's about AI and he wants to keep up with AI,
Yeah.
but then
Yeah.
they literally will be controlling your brain, if anything.
Yeah. You know my thoughts on these things. Like, I don't
Yeah.
like pervasive technology. Like I already feel like we're too teched out.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I always say that we're already a cyborg. We just don't know it. Like our phone, we go to it for everything, so it's part of us, right? We never
It
leave
is.
without it. Yeah,
is.
so
I've gone back home for my phone. Like I've gone halfway to work and turned back.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Especially if someone sleeps over, you don't want them getting into the phone. You just got to rush back home.
Not a challenge I've had, but yeah.
So the next one is, what advice can you give entrepreneurs? Like, you are a consultant in small business space and in the media. What's some advice you could share?
So, similar to some of the stuff we've talked about is, ensuring that you know what your audience is. I used to say this to anybody, entrepreneur or not, it's the people who are able to be flexible that will survive. So you have to tap into some sense of flexibility in this world. And if you are too rigid, you're not going to survive. You're just not. You have to be able to bend. You have to be able to curve when a ball is thrown at you. So, seek out whatever resources you can in terms of expanding and opening up your mind to being a more flexible person. And I also say to entrepreneurs, do not fear change. I always say change is always good. And my friends are like, it can't always be good. I'm like, even bad change is good. It is for a purpose. So be open to changing, but also know that for me, I think your brand is you, right? So when you're an entrepreneur, it's not you being wise trying to separate yourself from your brand. Like you need to incorporate what is your you-ness, what is it that you want people to buy into, why would people become a part of your tribe, but why would people follow you, buy or anything from you. And you have to identify that and incorporate that in your branding. And then I'd also say hang on in there because COVID has given everybody some uppercuts. And entrepreneurship is sometimes scary and risky and all of those things. But hang on in there. I'm hopeful because I'm very encouraged by the level of entrepreneurship that came out of COVID. Individuals started whole new companies during COVID. Individuals, were like, I've always wanted to cook and started to make cakes. And individuals are like, I've always liked candles and made candles. So there's so much growth that happened for individuals that were open to it during this time. I'm very, very hopeful for entrepreneurship going forward. And lastly, I think Black folks need to get with it. There's no answer in the system for us. So we're going to have to create our own spaces, and we're going to have to create our own wealth. And, entrepreneurship is one route to doing that.
Yeah. Speaking of like all the creativity that happened because of COVID, it's I think it gives us an example of what would happen if there was a universal basic income. It would be that the people that want to create and the people that want to build would now have time away from their 9 to 5 jobs, because some people after that 9 to 5 job gets home and they're completely burnt.
Wasted.
Now, yeah, so it shows that if there was a basic income, we'd have more creativity, we'd have more businesses. So I think it would push the economy even more. So that is an interesting example from the COVID that happened. And so I'm wondering if governments and business see that, and hopefully they will build on it.
Yeah.
So who knows?
Yeah, would be good.
Yeah, it would. So the last question would be, what will they quote you out of context for when they come for you?
Holy. I'll definitely be taken out of context for my ideas on blackness and relationships as it relates to blackness. I don't care, but I think that's what I would be misquoted on. I've been misquoted before and had fallouts from being misquoted, so I'm prepared.
Oh, well, we didn't really cover anything on that much on blackness and love and things like that. I'd like to hear that next time we have a conversation.
Yeah, for sure. We can, we should just connect on that topic.
Yeah, for sure. I'm doing
be...
a series. I'm doing a banking series this in October.
Yeah, I saw you putting that.
Yeah, so I'll be doing a series on love and relationship. I'm thinking probably for either January or February, in around the Valentine's. Definitely like to see you back on one of those shows.
Yeah, for sure.
But Danae, this was an awesome conversation. We always have a great conversation when we meet. And I'm really thankful for you coming on. And we are definitely going to meet again in the love and relationship talk.
Yes.
All right. So thanks again. And can't wait to see you again.
All right. Thanks, Greg. Take care.
Thanks. Bye. Have a great day.
Bye.
And that brings us to the end of another episode of Toasted Soul. Thank you for listening and supporting Toasted Soul. Visit us at toastedsoul.com to leave comments or book guest appearances and to get news on Toasted Soul. Please join us again next week. And as always, live with soul.